Welcome to the Whitetail Advantage Podcast with your host, Brett Bovin. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy the show.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Brett Bovin. This is a show for all hunters and outdoorsmen alike, where we get to gather around the electronic campfire, like we like to call it here, and share stories, learn strategies, and just get to know people overall. If you're unfamiliar with the show, we do a live show every Tuesday and Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Each week, we cover a new state. This week was Oregon. However, we didn't get anybody scheduled for Oregon. So we booked two guests from North Carolina because we love that state so well. But with that being said, if you have any questions, comments, or anything funny to say during the show, feel free to drop it in the comment section and we'll pop them up during the screen. The Deucer is not here with us tonight, so I'm going to be doing a lot of multitasking. So bear with me, please. That's all I ask. Just cut me a little bit of a slack because I'm going to be doing a bunch of things because tonight we're going to be doing a lot of different things. And I'll get to that here in a second. We do have a saying on the show, put your core in the slot machine. What I simply mean by that is to help share the show. I strongly believe hunting is a dying sport. It's a dying lifestyle. So all we ask is help us get us one new friend, help share the show, and help us spread the word. If you use the code GP10, you can get 10% discount off Gilly Puck products. Also, make sure to check out MAGNUS Broadheads and Grizz Media. So like I said, we're going to be doing a couple different things tonight. We're going to be tracking how many subscribers we get. We hope to get up to 205 at least. So we're going to be having a counter on the show tonight. And we are also going to be doing, it's our second time doing this, doing a call-in. So if you want to call into the show, we're going to be starting that around 9:30. We'll pop the number up on the screen and feel free to call into the show. Everyone's going to get about 5-10 minutes or so to talk about whatever they want to talk about with us. But with that being said, I'm finally done with the intro. I hate it. It's episode 106. Holy shit, right at 106. I can't believe that crap already. But with that being said, enough of me jibber jabbering about crap, whatever. I don't know. I don't like doing intros. We all know I hate doing it. I'm just going to shut up and we're going to bring the guests in for tonight. So, like I said, cut me a break. I'm going to be doing a bunch of different things. So let's get it going. What is up, brother?
What's up, man? How are you?
Doing good. How about you, man?
Doing good. It's a Thursday night, man. I'm on the right side of the grass.
Oh, man. I haven't heard that saying in a while.
Yeah, I'm old, man. I'm old.
You're old. I turn 31 next Friday.
Bro, I'm 42.
Oh, you're old as fuck.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome. Well, brother, for anyone that doesn't know you, can you give a little background about yourself?
My name's Bryan Gay. I live in Eastern North Carolina. I was stationed here for 20 years. I wasn't here the whole time, obviously. But then once I retired from the Marine Corps in 2020, I landed a job that I just couldn't refuse. Both my daughters were in high school, so the option to move and go anywhere was null and void by all the three of the women that run my life. So we're here. So, and that's really the long and short of it. Started hunting, and I really didn't. I take that back. I hunted a little bit growing up. I grew up in Central Florida, Cocoa Beach area, a little bit more inland. Airboats, alligators, rattlesnakes. Snipe hunting is a real thing. It's you just running through the reeds of the swamp until you shoot up a bird, and then it flies like crazy, and you just try and shoot it. It's probably the size of a dove. With a long bill. You're not running around with baseball bats and pillow sacks. I promise.
I will say, if you hear a cricket noise, that's my fault. There's some cricket in my house right now, and I can't freaking find it, and it's pissing me off. So I apologize for that weird squeaking noise. So I'm just going to throw that out there. I know. So anyways. Well, Bryan, we're in North Carolina. You're in North Carolina.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about North Carolina. Let's start off this way. what's one thing possible that you can think of that we haven't covered yet in the 3 episodes we talked about North Carolina?
It's tough. It's thick and it's hot. The season, the season starts so early here. So we've been in season for a week and almost 2 weeks now, or 3 weeks now. Sorry. Or September 7th is when it started. So, and it's still 90 plus degrees. But we're fighting that. And a lot of you guys did talk about dog hunters on one of them. So that's a huge deal around here. If public land backs up to a hunting club, they're 99% chance there's running dogs. So, and when it comes down to it, the dogs have more rights than you do as a public land hunter.
Well, we haven't talked actually that whole lot about grammar right there sucked. I apologize. About dog hunting in North Carolina. I mean, I know it's a big thing kind of on the Carolinas on that side. Mm-hmm. I remember we were talking with who was it? The Backwoods Life. What his photographer guy, he's from Virginia, and he said that whole coastline, dog hunting, it's a very popular thing.
Oh yeah,
and I didn't know that. I knew dog hunting was a big thing overall, but I didn't realize how popular it was in that section of the United States.
Yeah, it's and these guys, they've got it down to relatively, a science where they'd say, that so the club that I was part of, they would meet at the clubhouse on Saturday morning and said, hey, we're going to run this block of woods. We're going to put, you over here, you here, you here, and we're going to let them free. And they're all on walkie-talkies, have radios. The dogs all have GPS collars, so they know where they're running, and they've got a screen up, like a digital, like iPad, and they can see where the dogs are running. And I don't know if you've ever tried to shoot a deer on the run with a high-power rifle, but it is a challenge.
Well, I don't hunt with a gun, but I can imagine
not many years
possible. I don't think that is. I feel like you're shooting at like a dime size target. I feel like it's that hard.
Yeah, it's definitely tough, and some of these guys are really, really good at it.
Well, Bryan, let me ask you this. Do you see yourself hunting more on do you have your private land that you have access to? Do you have public land? Obviously, you have public land. But what do you see yourself diving in the most?
So I have Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, right literally in my backyard. I'm 8 miles from the base, which has got a ton of land. That's basically public land. Anybody can hunt it as long as they have access to the base and they have a base hunting permit. You can get on there, but they say it's public because there's no real, I'm not the only one who has access to it. Everyone can get to it that has, the base access or the privilege to hunt on the base. You can hang cams, you can't bait, so it's basically public. It's just surrounded by an air station. But that's what I do mostly.
I remember talking with, I can't remember her name, but her husband is in the service. And so she gets to hunt military property. And I didn't realize that was a thing until I talked to her about it. Can you dive a little more into that about how people can hunt that type of property? So
you have to have access to the base. And then you have to do like a hunter orientation course for the base. So if you look at the map of the grounds or the entire air station, they've got it pardoned off into sections. So like gun 1, gun 2, bow 1, bow 2, vice versa. So as a bow hunter, early season, I can get into literally anywhere. So I hunt all the gun areas early season and blow all that out for the Orange Army to come in. And then when bow season kicks off, the gun season kicks off, rather, I run over to the bow areas unless there's a specific buck that I'm chasing in the gun area.
Oh, okay.
So in the past 2 years, the new jet is coming to Cherry Point. So they put a bunch of fences and gates and stuff around the runway. So a lot of it you can't access unless you have a boat. So I access the base with my retired ID card, have my bow in the back, and then I go check in whatever area I want to go in. I can see how many people are in there. I can't see necessarily who's in it, but I can see how many, because there's only so many people per section. It's bodies per acre is the way they calculated it.
Oh, okay.
And so if there's like 4 or 5 people in an area, I won't go there. Obviously I play the wind. which is a big factor based on where I want to go. So,
PSC Mobile Hunter here. My son told me they have limited hunting areas on Camp
Lejeune.
Lejeune. Oh,
yeah, they do. So based upon, because they have a lot of ranges, and if the ranges go hot, if they're doing live fire exercises, anything like that in those ranges, those sections will be cordoned off, so you can't go to certain areas. But that's really it. I mean, as long as you play it right, and you can get range schedules and things like that, as long as because a lot of times the game warden will post the range schedules. Like we have a rifle range on Cherry Point. If they're firing on the rifle range, a whole section is cordoned off until they're done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. I know you and I talked about archery. You do a lot of your own archery setup and building, stuff like that, when we talked prior to the show. When you shoot a deer, when you look at the arrow and you don't know the type of shot that you had, I mean, let's just say you had a broadside shot or like a quartering shot, and you're looking at the arrow, how do you judge how long to wait and what vitals you possibly could have hit, depending on the arrow itself?
So I've learned, and this is trial and error, I wait at least a half an hour, regardless, before I even start my climb down. And I'm saddle hunting, so it takes me a little bit because I'm not making a ton of noise. I'm trying to be as quiet as I can down as I was up, especially after the shot. Once I get to the arrow, if it's dark red blood, that's major artery, because I always put white fletchings on all my arrows so I can tell. If it's a little bit lighter blood with bubbles in it, that's a lung. If it's yellow, green, smells really bad, that's stomach, guts, you might be in trouble. So then you may have to, if that's the case, green, yellow, smells bad, back out, wait 4, 5, 6 hours. If you filmed it, review the footage, check all of those things to see. Because, based upon, like you said, if he's quartering 2, that may be because the arrow is going to have excrement from the exit wound, essentially. Anything that you hit on the front side is going to be cleaned off as it cuts through the median. So it's only going to be on the back side. So, if you hit it, if he's quarter 2 and you hit way front shoulder, but it came out, you probably clipped a lung, liver, and then hit guts, trail ends on the way out. So it's going to all be like basically a set call when you're there. Like, okay, maybe I should wait another 45 half hour.
So if he's really quartering to you and you're thinking to yourself, I'm 90% sure I got at least clipped the liver, and it came out towards its ass, how long are you waiting roughly?
Liver shots, I'm waiting 2 to 3 hours. Easy. Because that's a lot of internal damage, and the liver is going to be, it's so far back. He's still pumping blood, adrenaline, everything's still moving. He's going to be able to go for quite a while. And last thing you want to do is push him, because we ended up chasing what we saw. A buddy of mine had one night. We saw it across the creek, and it was just zombie-eyed. He liver shot it, and we pushed it a bunch. Because he called me, and I didn't know how long, this and that and the other. Checked the arrow. It looked okay. A lot of dark red blood on it. Tracking, and then he jumped, and he ran hard. But so then we waited for a while, and then we finally just kept tracking blood. Actually ran across the golf course, down a creek, and then he was on the other side of it, just zombie deer. We had to wait and back out. Wait till the next morning until we just marked a spot on Onyx and went back next morning.
The Squatch here. The Squatch made a comment. Shot like that, one lung and liver, 4 to 6 hours.
Yep. Agreed. Totally. That's why I said at least, 2 to 3, based upon how far forward you think you can get that arrow.
Now, let me ask you this. Last year, I had a deer that I shot and was able to kill, and he went like 50 yards. But I always aim right behind the shoulder blade, because they're going to be ducking down, kind of like in that little pocket right underneath their armpit, because they're going to duck down. But he was at 20 yards, so I knew I didn't have to aim that low, because he's not going to be able to dip down that quick.
Right.
If you have somebody that's shooting at a deer 25 yards away, would you tell someone to shoot straight through the shoulder?
Never.
Or no, just aim straight for those vitals?
No. So I like to take high percentage shots. The lungs are obviously much bigger than the heart.
Yep.
So if I can run a double lung and run the chance of clipping a heart, I'm going to take that shot. I'll put it a little bit further back from that, what they call the vital V, just because I know it's a bigger area for error, if you will. If you put it too close to the shoulder, I mean, I don't care what grain, arrow, weight you're running. If you hit that shoulder blade or that knuckle, it can be a dream killer.
Yeah.
So I like to try and, like I said, err on the side of caution. If I can get double lung, I'm going to be right. Literally, I make an intersection, midline body, and I put my pins on the back of the front leg, and I just shoot for that X right there.
I do the same thing. Like if you're just picture a deer that's broadside, I go like halfway in between the middle of the body and right behind the shoulder blade, because I'm thinking, all right, I aim small, miss small, like Uncle Ted says. But I know, all right, in the back of my mind, it's like, all right, if I miss that one spot that I'm aiming for, I still have this giant area that I could, quote unquote, miss.
Right.
And still hit a good spot, and they're not going to go more than 100 yards.
Sure.
And I always tell people, like, for instance, people that are just getting into hunting, and they're like, well, I've heard people say they go straight for the shoulder. And it's like, no, you have to have a lot of things to be able to push through a shoulder blade of a deer. Granted, they're not that strong in the shoulder blade. It's not hard to get through, but you have to have a lot of force to get through there. And if you're brand new, if you just even go to the middle of the body, you're still going to hit some vitals. And that's what you want to aim for. Don't aim for that shoulder blade. Aim right behind it.
Oh, yeah. That's what, like I said, I make an intersecting T, right? I follow the back leg or the front leg, the rear side of it, and middle of the body. And it's worked out pretty good for me so far.
I've had any complaints so far.
Yeah. I don't know that the deer's going to complain to you anyhow.
It's weird. I'll say this. Fish hook the deer I named Fish Hook a couple years ago, he was quartering away from me. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. I'll be able to get right to the vitals, and let's see if I nick the heart. He went like 10 yards and died. And I looked after we gutted him out, to keep a long story short, we looked at the heart. It was obliterated. I went right through the heart.
Yep.
Those are the type of shots where it's like, outside of a broadside shot, those are the type of shots where it's like, oh man, that's prime. I mean, you don't want them so far quartering away, but you want like a broadside quartering away type of shot.
That's my preferred shot. I prefer a slightly quartered away shot any day of the week. Just because I know I can drive it right in there. I can hug it tight and if I hit the opposite side shoulder, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
I'm okay if it gets stuck right there. It's like, I mean, he's gonna die, just depending on how far he's gonna go.
Right.
What are you doing in the off season to prepare for archery hunting?
I do.
You hear a lot of people, they're like, well, sometimes I don't have enough time, so I'll practice 2 weeks before.
No,
that's okay if you're gun hunting, but if you're bow hunting, you also got to think there's a lot of things that can go wrong with a bow.
Oh,
you have to be precise with a bow. So what are you doing?
I shoot every day. A while ago, a buddy of mine did a arrow day challenge, and that just kind of stuck with me. I shoot every day, regardless. I mean, if I have to do a blank bail or whatever. Extreme Outfitters does an archery 3D season. They're actually going to start a little bit earlier this year. So we, kicking around through the woods, shooting archery targets. Went to TAC this year, and that was a game changer, because it was just very technical shots, uphill, downhill, side skirt and side of a mountain. Was it definitely made me open my eyes a lot more than just flat land, Eastern North Carolina shooting a bow. So I shoot every day. I start in July and August. I'll start getting in the saddle and shooting elevated.
Next year, I'm going to be trying my journey to 1,000 yards. I'm videotaping that. I'm excited to do that. But before talking, Cody was my first guest from North Carolina. I didn't realize how hilly North Carolina was. He made it sound like you got mountains in here, man. I mean, I knew that you had the Appalachian Mountains, I get that, but I didn't realize it ran that much into North Carolina.
Yeah, it's a lot. Once you get on the other side of Raleigh, it gets a little hilly. But where I'm at, I mean, it's flat. We are like, I'm 20 minutes from the beach, man.
Really?
Yeah. And then we've got, I mean, if you take the ferry, or you can run up around and go to the Outer Banks. So we got lighthouses. I'm right there. The Big Rock Blue Marlin tournament is in my backyard. Really? Yep. That's where they brought everything in. I mean, I'm 15 minutes from the dock. They pull everything in.
That leads me to my next question, kind of. The October lull.
Okay.
We all hear about, oh, it's the October lull. You're not going to see shit. We all know it's this made-up shit. And if you don't know yet, it's a made-up shit. They're finding new food sources, acorn stuff that's falling down from trees. They're going kind of more deeper into the woods, kind of. How are you noticing that, quote-unquote, the October lull is happening? And how are you adjusting to that? So you're not just sticking on the side of a cornfield and be like, you know what? I don't know what to do. I'm not seeing shit. How are you noticing that type of stuff and adjusting to it?
I always try to find, so I do a lot of early season scouting, try to find beds and then a food source. And then I look for trails in between. If I know, and the oaks are finicky here on which seasons they drop. So we'll have seasons where they don't drop at all. And then we'll have like last year where it sounded like it was raining. It was like raining acorns in the woods. So it's like, okay, well, I know the bed's here and this is their travel corridor. I'm going to set up on this rain and I'm going to let it roll. So that's how I kind of combat it. And the wind is a huge factor. I've definitely learned my fair share of that the hard way early in my hunting ventures.
Let me ask you this. Let's take my property that I hunt on. It's 80 acres total, but like 40 acres total of it is deep woods, but only 20 of it, in my opinion, is huntable because a lot of it's a lot of downhills and valleys. So it's like hard to find a tree stand location to be accurate in it. I found a couple spots where it's like, all right, I'm deep in the woods. How are you adjusting with very small pockets of deep woods and cornfield or an ag field? Yeah.
So obviously they're traveling. They're going to stay in the thick stuff for cover concealment, and then they're going to move to the ag field. You just got to basically find them in transit. If I have to prep prior to the season, like if I set up a spot this year, I built my boat and I run it out. I had to cut a bunch of limbs, set a bunch of stuff, basically make shooting lanes. And I did it in August, a month prior to the season. So get all that done, get all my scent out of there, and just leave it. You can do that on public land too, but yours is even better because you can do whatever you want, you know?
And you hear a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to go out there too much because I don't want to leave my scent out there. I'm the opposite. I like going out there like every 2 weeks because in my opinion, because I live in a neighborhood, I want the deer to get used to my scent. So that way, when I get out there in the woods, they're not like, what's that? That's new. I'm skittish now. Make them even more skittish. So I want them to get used to it.
So that's yes and no. I could see like visual cues, like the guys who put like scarecrows in a stand or something like that. But as far as scent, I mean, I play the wind so much. They should be coming to me anyways. I want the wind in my face. Entry is set up. I want the whole thing. I don't want to give them a chance. But I'm trying to mask my scent. Don't get me wrong, because in the event that they do come in behind me or on the trail that I came in on, I want to be able to have them not know that I'm there. It's just a ton of research, ton of, for the neighborhood aspect of it. I mean, they're going to be used to the noises and sounds and cars and things like that because I hunt, the Marine Corps base. So there's jets flying all over the place, which I use a lot of that to move. If I've got to, get over a log or jump a tree or, make a lot of noise, that's when I'm going to wait until a jet flies over. But there's certain things
here made a comment. Squatch and I have a stand set up on Brett's property. He don't know it yet. And right after that, Squatch says, oh man, he's going to freak out. I'm going to freak out. Next thing I know, I look up in the tree. Oh, hi, Squatch.
Yeah.
Where I had a question here now with that. No, I lost it. Sorry, it's been a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now. How are you doing your best in the off season to try and scout for these mature deer?
So we can't set up cameras until a month out. It's just a base regulation. We can't do it. But there's nothing that says I can't hike, through the trails, through these things. So I start, I throw a pack on. I'll throw, a 35-pound weight in that pack, put my boots on and take off and start, okay, this is where I'm looking. This is what I'm seeing. This is trying to find those beds, trying to find those good food sources and getting into places that no one's going to get into, June, July, because it's gross hot here.
What? Hang on. So you can't set up cameras until a month out?
Correct.
Is there a reasoning behind it?
I couldn't tell you. It's just what the game warden says. I mean, you can run, because we have our own game wardens. There are 3 of them for the base that are just here. They're federal officers. They're full-fledged game wardens, but they are assigned to MCAS Cherry Point, and that's their place. So, and they cut fields, they cut fire trails, they do all this stuff. I just don't know. A lot of it is, if it gets overgrown, they'll do a controlled burn because the airfield's right there. But if you leave a camera out there, you're running your own risk. The way I see it.
There had to have been something that happened where it's like, you know what, you can't set up your cameras a month out. I mean, I get it's a military base, I get that, but it's like, I just want to know the reasoning behind it all.
Well, I know on Camp Lejeune, they're not allowed to use cameras this year because someone set up a camera and took a picture of something they weren't supposed to.
What?
If that makes sense. Some training op stuff, things like that. So, and then you know what I mean? So they set up a camera and then they obviously took a picture and then they posted it or something. It got caught somehow. But yeah. So it is what it is. Unfortunately, people are dumb sometimes.
Wait, so they're still doing training ops on that hunting?
Oh yeah, piece? Yeah. That's the only time it'll be closed down if you do. So so when I go to check in to an area, right, I have to check in and out of an area. I can see so if, for instance, Cherry Point, if the rifle range is hot, if they're doing fire drills, right, I know this whole section will be closed. The area is red. I can't even check into it. So on Camp Lejeune, they do the same thing for all the different training areas. If they have a training exercise going in, whatever LZ or whatever, they won't open that up to hunting. But you can see your camera can still be out there if they authorize it.
Huh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just one of the ins and outs, intricacies of hunting the base.
How long have you been hunting on this property?
I have 6 years now.
6 years.
Yep.
And well, let me ask you this: is there a lot of military type hunting property out there more than what I know about Oklahoma and now North Carolina?
If there's if the base authorizes it for the area, if they have enough land to have a hunting program, yeah, there's a ton of them.
What would qualify it to be you can hunt on that property?
That I couldn't tell you.
Is that X amount of numbers of acres or some shit?
Yeah, and it's got to be so many acres, not within, buildings, runways, things like that. It's got to be so far away from any ammunition depots, anything like that. So we have specific ordinance areas that those are closed off all the time. You don't even go in there. Gate it off. Don't go in. It's not. You just can't go.
It seems like you have more. Obviously, it seems like you have more regulations when it comes to hunting that property compared to public land.
Oh yeah, a ton. So if I tag a deer, so I tag it with NC Wildlife, get my license, get everything like that. And then once I take it into the game warden, he wants to age the deer. So he wants to cut the jaw and check the teeth, see how old it is for their records. And then they want to weigh it. Is it lactating? Is it, was it pregnant? Was this the only one? You have to log all these things down when you put in your harvest ID number for the air state. I mean, there's a ton of it that goes into it.
Holy crap. I didn't realize I didn't know that. Obviously.
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot of it.
So you better have your P's and Q's if you're hunting on that, or have the access to hunt on that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they'll check it. They will check. They want to know inside, outside diameter, how far apart were the beams. I mean, it gets intricate.
What happens if you hunt on that property and you are unaware of being able to check in with those places, and you just go and take it to your local meat market and they butcher it up for you?
So, well, I guess if you don't get caught, you don't get caught. As long as you tag it with NC Wildlife, the actual where you get your tags from. Because that's the only thing that the processor looks at is my harvest ID. But if I'm doing everything that I should be doing on the base, then they've got my harvest ID number. They've got the weight, sex, and it goes from there. There's a ton of stuff.
And I think I asked this earlier, but how do you gain access to be able to hunt that? You have to know somebody?
Well, no, I'm retired. So I have a retiree ID card, which gives me access to the base on and off. If you have, if you're dependent, certain civil service, government employees have access to the base, then you are required to take a hunter's orientation course where they go over all of the rules and regulations. So if I were to hunt public land, like literally across the street from my house, I can get out there at 4 a.m. if I want. On the base, it's an hour before first shooting light. So it's an hour and a half before sunrise is the earliest you can check in. Yeah, it's tightened down, man. And it's an hour. Same thing on the backside. So say, sunset is at 7:00. I can shoot until 7:30. I've got to be out by 8:30. That's all my gear, everything checked out, unless I've, shot something, I'm tracking something. Then I got to call in and say, hey, this is me. I'm in this area. I'm tracking a deer right now. And then they'll give me instruction from there, whether to, all right, I'm on my way to help you, or go ahead and check in, get out of that area because they're doing whatever in the morning. Or it all depends on the game warden, whoever's on duty that day.
Shit.
Yes.
That's all I got to say to that.
Yeah. There's some pros and cons to it.
You got me a little flabbergasted with that. Holy crap. Thought the regulations in our state was strict and tough. You go to that place. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's just the base, because if I shoot something at, 7:30 in public, like legit public land, I can track it all night if I want. They don't care. There's no check in and out process. This is just to make sure that you're not out wandering the base in the middle of the night.
Well, everyone out there watching, we're going to be finally accepting call-in. So if you want to call in to myself and talk to myself and Bryan, feel free. The number's on the screen. Bryan, with you being a service guy, I like to ask this question a lot lately. How do you deal with the emotional aspect of hunting and taking the life of a deer?
It's not about that for me. It's harvesting. It's putting, food on the table in the freezer. For me, it's the sport of it. I consider myself a sportsman, and I'm if you've ever seen the way that animals die in nature, it is absolutely not nice. We've got alligators here. We've got, other predators, bobcats are everywhere. We've got, natural predators. If those things happen, it is a lot more gruesome than the way that I do it. Right. And I try only shoot mature deer. Because because around here they only last, if you shoot a 4.5, 5-year-old, that guy's been around for a long time. Because a lot of the guys, that are around here running dogs, if it's brown, it's down. If it's running, we're gunning. So, that's just the way it is. So, like a 90-pound doe for here was good. She was 3.5 years old, 90 pounds. That was the first doe I shot this year.
Oh, really?
Yep.
For me, leading up to 2 years ago, and I would shoot a deer and we'd wait a couple hours, and then we go track and he's dead.
Yep.
2 years ago, when I shot fishhook, I watched him physically die right in front of me, where he ran up about 10 yards, and then he's laying on the ground, he's stumbling, and I could just see him gasping for air, just like, and I watched his head just slowly float to the ground, and eventually he just passed away.
Yep.
That, outside of all the emotions of that was my first giant deer, if you want to say that, or everything, even on the backside of it that I don't share with people, that hunt itself is going to stick with me. But watching that deer pass away like it did right in front of my eyes is going to stick with me forever. And I think people don't realize, I'm trying to find the word I want to use. I still can't find the word I'm trying to find, but you don't see, most of the time you're not watching the deer pass away. They're running away and they just go up and find them when they're dead. They're not watching it die. And I think people it's that disconnect. That's the word. It's that little bit of a disconnect.
Yeah, I can see that. I've seen them. I've dropped one literally right in front of me. She didn't move at all. And it was, she laid down, kicked once, and that was it. It's like, okay, well, and for me, that's now the work starts. Because especially with as hot as it is here in North Carolina, like I said, it's 90 degrees. It was 80 something today with rain. So I'm on the clock. I got to get that thing cleaned up, get it on ice, and take care of everything before meat starts to spoil. It starts to bloat, because it's going to happen a lot faster in the heat. But it's once those emotions, it's I won't say that I'm numb to it. I still get that adrenaline pump. There's nothing like it, that feeling, and I can't even explain it. But it's not, for me, it's not about, killing. It's not, I don't think about it that way, or I haven't until now, until you just said something. But it's not, it's legitimately harvesting an animal for me. It's being able to provide good quality meat for me. And I know that it's 100% grass fed. It's not what they say. Like when you buy grass-fed beef at the grocery store, and I know when I take it to my processor that I'm getting my stuff. They're using my meat, and that's it. It's that's from field to plate. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, when I'm out there in the tree stand, I'm just sitting there like, all right, just enjoying being out in the nature. Mm-hmm. And then when I see a deer come in, I don't know what happens, but my mind literally flips to, am I killing this deer or not? All right, I'm killing this deer. And it's like killer instincts where it's like nothing else matters. I'm zoned in on this deer. I'm killing this deer.
Yeah.
And outside of that, once it's all done, it's like, oh, I just provided meat for my family on top of all the other emotions going along with it. I think in that moment when you see that deer that you want to harvest, that killer mentality kicks in. And then once you release that arrow or you shoot that gun, which I'll leave that comment right there. But once you do that, it's satisfaction.
Yes. Yeah, I'll agree 100%. Yeah, I can't describe the feeling that it is. And I'll find myself sitting in a tree stand, and thinking about like playing it out in my head. Okay. So like Cheeto, I just shot last week because I call him because one of his antlers has a really super wicked curve to it. So I call him Cheeto. He rolled in. I caught him on camera the night before, made a game plan, put a play on him, and put him down the next day. Once he rolled in, it was like, oh shit. But I had all of this in my head pregame, like, okay, I got in at the end of the rain. I know he's going to be moving. There's all of these other things going on. It's late on a Sunday. What am I gonna tell my wife? This and that and the other. How am I gonna play all this out? And then it showed up. It was like, well, now it's go time. Here we go. So it was a phenomenal. I couldn't have played it out any better in my head. The shot was one of the hardest shots I've ever had to take, and it was offside of my saddle, but it was perfect. Went through both shoulders, hit the heart, and dropped him in 35, 40 yards. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't have played it any better. I mean, I'm horrible at filming because I had my GoPro on my bow that was looking at the bush right in front of me. And I got it, like I said, I got in on the rain, so I didn't have my DSLR with me. I left that in the truck, and batteries were dead anyways. So, because I'm a genius. But
Can I ask this? Why did you name him Cheeto?
Because he's on one of his antlers, his G2. It like super hard curves. It was like a two of those, and it looked like a Cheeto girl to me.
Huh.
So I call him Cheeto.
Real quick, my buddy, he doesn't name deer, and I talked to one of my other friends. He's like, "Yeah, I don't name them because majority of the time we name them after characteristics of the deer or off its antlers." One of my buddies, he names them after real people. He goes, "Yeah, that's John I'm after, or I'm after Bill this year." Like, yeah, I've never heard that before. And he's like, "Yeah, everyone else does that." I'm like, "Good point." And then we were talking last year. He goes, "Yeah, I'm after this buck named John." I'm like, "Why did you name him John?" "Well, I haven't used the name yet, so I just fucking name him John."
I mean, I guess it works.
I know. He had me chuckling. I'm still chuckling.
Yeah. I like to name odd names that I can, characteristics, like you said. Characteristics of the antler, something, crazy with the body, something weird. I like to, I'd name them as much as I can so they're identifiable. But if I say, yeah, I'm going after John today, my wife will be like, what?
Who's this John you speak of?
Yeah.
No, I named this one deer way back in the day. I called him, what did I call him? Those Magic 8 balls.
Mm-hmm.
Remember those? I called him the Magic 8 because it was this beautiful chocolate rack deer, 8-pointer, obviously. And he comes in, he's like right in front of my stand, and I'm like 13, 14 years old, okay? I shoot him, but I shoot at him, and I shoot at the tree. And I just look, and I'm like, I heard a thud, but he's standing right there. And I look, the arrow sticking out of the tree, and he runs off. I'm like, that's the Magic 8. He lives another day.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just weird how you name deer after like these weird coincidences or after characteristics and stuff like that. And to me, that's what sticks out to me the most.
I never come up with good names. Like Cheeto is probably the most creative I've ever had.
Really?
I've got one. There's a massive 12-point that I was tracking for 2 years on public. Only show up at night, and every time my camera took a picture of him, he was super light. So I called him Ghost because he would ghost me every year. I'm sure he's dead now, but I'm not very creative whatsoever when it comes to that. I mean, I can call people names to their face and be creative, but as far as like naming a deer that I've got on trail camera or I've seen in person, that's a whole different story, man.
I'll say this. I've said it before. This one deer I was after, and he was a beautiful 9-pointer. I shot him. I haven't named him yet. And I shot him. I missed right below him. I nicked his stomach. He lives another day. And I see a photo of him like 3 weeks after the fact, I think. And I said, I'll see you soon, Toretto, from Fast 5. And next thing I know, I'm calling him Toretto. I don't know if it just
whatever works for you, man. That's my same theory on broadheads. Whatever works for you.
Right.
Heavy arrows, man. What you keep your stuff, whatever works for you. I know it works for me.
Let me ask you this. We here in Michigan, hunting numbers are declining rapidly. Youth aren't getting out there as much, obviously, these days. And the old are phasing out of hunting. Now, especially now we have TikTok these days. Everyone knows my stance with TikTok, and I can't fucking stand TikTok. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to go any further right now. How would you get youth into hunting?
That's tough because, like you said, these things right here are I mean, they're running the world.
For everyone curious, he's holding up his phone.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah,
no, just for anyone listening on the audio.
Because you have instantaneous gratification.
Yep.
It's instant gratification. It's right there. They don't have to put in the work. We're running into that with, you see it a lot in restaurants. No one wants to work. No, they would rather just DoorDash delivery. They go pick something up in their own car and then drop it off, and they get whatever paid, Cash App or however wise they do it. No one wants to be, that waiter anymore. They don't take part. It's tough, especially now, unless you're brought into it from an early age. I'd say that's something that we all got to come together on and figure it out, because if not, then we're going to be in trouble.
No, and I think outside of the hunting community, like we're trying to get youth into the outdoors and hunt. It's just TikTok is corrupting everyone's brains.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, it's social media in general.
Oh yeah,
it's because of that instant gratification.
Yeah.
They don't feel the need, the urge. There's something in me that I look forward to, September through December every single year. I'm in the woods, previous to that, I'm doing all of these things in preparation. I'm working out every day. I'm doing all these different, things to try and prepare myself. Sure, I could just go to work and come home and play on my phone. We don't own any video game systems in my house. We just don't. I could watch TV, whatever. But I just don't. I have to be outside, like we talked about earlier. I have to be doing something. If I sit still for any amount of time, I'm probably going to fall asleep, regardless of what's going on around me. It's just one of those things. If I'm not actively engaged, if I can sit down and I could just kind of sit and relax, I'm going to fall asleep. It's just the way it is.
PSE Mobile Hunter, it's on the parents. I agree with that statement right now, because nowadays, for instance, me, I have a 4-year-old daughter, will be 4-year-old in November, and a 2-year-old son in April. It all comes down to the parent, man. And if you're not getting them outside, or you'll even look at their friends too, but it ultimately comes down to the parents, where it's like, just get them outside, get them off their tablets, get them off the screen. They need to be outside doing something. And this culture that we live in now, where it's like, oh, we'll just look at our phones. And like you said, it's instant gratification. It's a 10-second video. And I was reading this article where kids these days, they can't, if it's something over 2 to 3 minutes, they lose interest. So the attention span is weakening on top of it all.
Yes and no. So I taught jet engine mechanics for a number of years, and you have that first 2 to 3 minutes, even teaching adults, I'll say that, to gain their attention. They call it an attention grabber, to get them interested in what you're selling, essentially, to where you have their undivided attention. If you don't have that attention getter in that first 2 to 3 minutes, regardless of, TikTok now, kids now, that was adults teaching. So I think that's a broad statement, to kind of blame the kids and TikTok and that. But if they're not getting outside, that's tough. So I've got 2 daughters that have absolutely zero interest in going in the woods, and I don't force them. I don't. And, if this is something you want to do, my oldest daughter's in college now, and she's starting to go, like, she wants to go on hikes and she wants to do all of these things. And, she's now going to country concerts and wearing boots and a hat. And pretty soon she's going to realize, hey, my dad's onto something. This is something I probably need. And I'm going to be ready. I got you a bow right here. Let's go. If you want it, I got a shotgun. I got whatever you want. We're going to get in them woods. We're going to shoot something, baby. But I'm just waiting for that day to come around, because I don't want to push them so hard that they don't want to do it to spite me.
Right.
You know, so it's a very touchy thing. But like I said, we don't have a video gaming system in my house at all. My daughter's got one in college, but that's so they can watch DVDs of Friends. You know, I don't even think they play video games. I don't know. That's just the way I was never into them. We never got my kids into them. My wife, you know, would rather watch some stupid reality show, but that's neither here nor there.
I will say this. I'm piggybacking off of that before I get to these 3 good comments here is I'll be sitting there like getting ready for bed and my wife's watching this reality TV show and I'm like, what's going on here? And I start asking a million questions. The next thing I know, I'm like, oh crap, now I'm hooked. 3 episodes in, I'm like, son of a bitch. What happened now, hon? I'm like asking all these stupid questions. It's like I can't stand that fake reality shows. I can't.
I'm the opposite. I'm like, this is all scripted crap. And I can tell her, I'm like, this is what's going to happen. If this was real life, that girl would have been punched in the neck at least once.
Yeah, I tell her the same thing, but yet somehow she loves it. So,
yeah.
PSC Mo Hunter, my 17-year-old works at Myers and gets out of work and went scouting for 2 hours and set trail cams, and then we shot for an hour. He gets 1 hour phone time a night, and we don't have any gaming systems.
There you go. But that's something that he wants to do.
Yeah, he's not being forced. It's something he wants to generally do on his own.
Yeah, and that's awesome to be able to have that. And I think because I didn't grow up hunting like tradition the way I hunt now. It was, you know, occasionally here or there. If there was a hog running through the property, we'd run it down and shoot it just because we didn't want it running the close proximity to the house there. But I mean, other than that, it was not until I got in the Marine Corps many, many years down the road. It was 2012 that I was like, my buddy's like, hey, we're going hunting whitetail. I was like, okay, let's go. I got this shotgun. And he goes, here's a fold-out chair and a gallon Ziploc bag full of corn. Let's go. All right, man. I don't know what I'm doing, but we're gonna figure it out.
Right. Brett Latham, gotta hook him in the blind with snacks and candy.
That is, yes.
I just thought that was
my youngest daughter.
That's a good one, Brett.
I got my youngest daughter one time with that.
The Squatch. My dad told us once you want it. Let me correct you. My dad told us once you want it, work for it. And I learned money don't come easy. That's the truth right there. It doesn't come easy. You got to work for it.
Yeah. Hey, nothing comes free.
PSC, Mo Hunter. My oldest son, the Marine, hunted once youth hunt harvest at a doe when he was 13 and didn't want to hunt anymore, and now wants to hunt again. I let him decide.
Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, that's the same thing. Like with me, it all just kind of came full circle. And when I get into something, I go like I have a very addictive personality. We'll say that because I mean, when I got into bow hunting, that was it. The rifles, they've been in the gun safe for 4-6 years now. It's crazy. Once I picked up a bow and I started really putting reps in and getting confidence in myself, confidence on my equipment, that I can take an animal clean and make it make it smooth, then it was perfect.
Cy M. Sargent.
Say
dog hunting. Oh, Cy, take them dog hunting. They'll like it.
Yeah. So that's I think that's a buddy of mine. We had, like I said, part of the dog hunting club that I was a part of. The kids love to ride in the trucks because they do 90 miles an hour down these dirt roads, and they grab these dogs and just chuck them out, and they're just chasing deer and watching these guys. I mean, we had one dude. He had, they may have been mailbox letters. I'm not sure, but he was cruising around with critter getter stickers on the barrel of his shotgun. I was like, man, this guy he's got it figured out, I guess.
Right.
And it's just, he got a dog box in the back of his truck, and they are beating the trash out of these trucks. The kids love riding the trucks more than anything.
Huh.
Because you're riding down old logging roads, because there's a ton of Weyerhaeuser land that we were leasing, and they're just potholes and mud holes and just let's go. The kids are just loving it up and listening, of course, to all the chatter, us yelling at each other through the walkie-talkies or the comms.
I can only imagine the conversation through those.
And especially when you throw in names like Rich Man and Puddin'. and when Puddin' puts the collars on his dogs, he doesn't have the GPS on him. He's got an old like satellite antenna. He's like, I think they beep beep, they went this way. Let's go. And all right, Puddin', we're following you, bud.
I'm just gonna say this. I've had some funny conversation on the radio when I was working in the jail and on the road. Nothing beats first responders and military conversations on the radio. I'm just gonna say that.
Could you imagine? So yes. There's been many a times where I walk into a conversation from like the back office, and I'm like, guys, if anyone other than me were to hear this, we'd all be in a lot of trouble right now. You need to figure, if it was just randomly somebody sitting in that wall listening to your conversation, you need to figure this out.
I remember, I'll say this because I have a really good question I want to ask you before I get into the rapid fire questions here. I made a comment on the radio where it's like, I don't think I should have said that on the radio. Next thing I know, my sergeant gets on the radio like, let's try and keep it professional on the radio, please. Thank you. And he hangs up. I'm like, yeah, hopefully I don't get written up for that.
To be a fly on the wall,
Right.
The conversations are absolutely insane. And especially if they're taken out of context.
Exactly.
Like if you were just somebody on the other end of the radio who has no idea what you're going through at that specific, point in time, they're like, okay, well, they just know what you said and how they interpret it.
Right. Brian, I want to ask you this question before I get into the rapid fire questions before we end the night. How has being in the military helped you in your hunting life?
I would say confidence in myself, confidence to be able to do, to know that I can push past what a lot of people think their limits are. I can go a little bit further. I know I can go a little bit harder, a little bit faster, a little bit further. I can do those things, even still as old as I am and still pushing through it. I'm still saddle hunting and bow hunting and getting in places where a lot of folks aren't. And that's just drive, that will, that determination.
But I'm also sure it's helped with you in the low times where it's like you missed a deer or you shot a deer and you couldn't find it. And like I said, the low times where it's just like, man, that sucks. But it's hard for, I think, nowadays where people have that drive was like, oh, I get down, I quit. It's easy for people to quit these days.
Yeah.
But if you have that drive in you, like you have, but that military is pushed it into you, where it's like, I'm not going to fail. I'm going to win. I may fail this. I might lose this one battle, but I'm going to win the war overall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I take it all personal.
Neither do they.
I mean, I'll get emotional if I screw up a shot or I duff a shot. I will beat myself up. I'm not sleeping. I shoulder shot a deer 2 years ago on the night of homecoming, of my daughter's homecoming dance. And I made myself sick tracking this deer to try and get it done before she got, I was like almost ended up in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Cause I was like, I'm not going back in for water. I'm not going back in for food. I'm tracking this deer. I know where he's at. And
that's that driving you.
What's that?
That's that driving you.
Yeah. Well, it was that. And my wife saying, hey, it's your daughter's homecoming dance. You better get your ass home by this time. No matter what. I don't care if, and I was hunting in a 1-day hunt, like what they call it, ordnance area on the base. So once I was out, that was it. And I found the broken end of my arrow and I lost that deer.
So you lost the deer.
Yep. Lost that deer and lost about 14 pounds that day after being sick and being dehydrated.
Well, I guess if you want to take a positive out of that experience.
Yeah. So,
All right, Brian. I got some rapid fire questions here before we let you go for tonight. Okay.
yes, sir.
All right. First one is, you can only choose one. What weapon would you choose if the end of the world is here?
Ooh, that's there's different scenarios to that. I mean,
I'm not going to say it. That's the question.
yeah, but I want to counter. I want to counter offer.
Okay. Let's hear your counter offer.
Do I have access to more rounds?
Yes, you have access to rounds.
Oh, then I'm choosing my AR any day of the week.
All right. You don't have access to rounds.
you can't do that. You're an Indian. I don't know. That's tough. Because I mean, the compound bows now, if you lose an arrow, shoot an arrow, you don't have access to that. You're not carving an arrow.
Good point.
For any compound bow.
That's why we added the question to the rapid fire questions, because it's a good question. Thank you, Squad.
Let's go trad. If I don't have access to replenishment, then I'm going to go with a trad bow and be able to at least forage make something out of another arrow.
I like that. That's a good one. What has been your favorite state you've hunted, and what is number one state? What is the number one state you want to hunt that you haven't hunted yet?
Favorite state I've hunted? Probably Georgia. Just because I love Georgia. It's, there's big deer. The red clay just brings a whole different challenge to everything. Certain parts of it, there's hills. Certain parts of it, there's swamps. I mean, you don't know. And then end all be all would probably be Alaska.
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard that one yet. That's a new one.
I'd love to hunt Alaska. Would absolutely love it.
Well, hang on. That might lead into question 3 here. What animal is on your bucket list to hunt?
Elk's a huge one, but I'd love to shoot a caribou. I just think that the characteristics of a caribou are just absolute. They're gorgeous. The whites and the grays and the antlers and everything. They're that the mystic animal to me. They're super smart. They're just evasive.
I will say this. Majority of people say moose or bear or elk. You're the second person to say caribou.
Yeah.
And caribou is number 3 on my list. It goes bear, grizzly bear, moose, caribou.
I just think of moose. I just don't think they're very smart. I don't think it'd be. I mean, I think if you get in them, you're in them.
In my opinion, they're kind of stupid. In my opinion, but it's the moose.
Sure. Yeah.
But no, caribou it's reindeer. I mean, they're majestic in a weird way.
Exactly.
Cool.
Yeah, I love the whites and the grays. I think it'd be just an awesome hunt.
Can I ask why Alaska then?
So I've been to Alaska twice, and I absolutely fell in love with it. I mean, I think there's so much, and it's not all like snow ridden and things like you think of that. I mean, there's a ton of green. It's crazy. It's huge. The access, the amount of land that you can cover is just unfathomable to me.
It's the last frontier.
It really is. I mean, other than I would say Antarctica, but that is barren. That is nothing.
Yeah. I will say this. When I was in college and I was still single, I think it was sophomore year or junior year of college, I noticed that they were offering like a $50,000 move on bonus on top of a $10,000 sign-on bonus with them to move out to Alaska to be an officer out there.
Yeah.
I say this. I almost took it.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave it at that.
It was the 2 times that I've been there that I've flown in there are just amazing. Loved it. A good friend of mine lived there for a number of years. Her husband was in the Army, and she loved it. She had elk and moose in her front yard. Yeah. And she's sending me pictures. She's like, eat your heart out, a-hole. And I'm like, oh, my God.
while you're stuck in North Carolina, like, yeah,
Yep.
look at these mountains or
Yep.
something. Question 4. Is there anyone famous or in your life that you would like to go on a hunt with one time?
Joe Rogan. Easy. Easy.
Yeah, I don't know how you beat Joe Rogan. You got the comedic part of them all.
Yeah.
And it's simple as this. It's Joe Rogan.
Well, he's he's going to be in shape, so you're not going to be dragging him along.
True.
You're going to probably have a once in a lifetime hunt because he's not going to go on a whitetail hunt in eastern North Carolina in the swamps in my John boat, right? So that's the stakes are even higher there, and like you said, the comedic part and just the way that he retains knowledge and is able to hold a conversation with folks and regurgitate knowledge and say those things is just absolutely amazing to me, because I would have a million questions. Aliens, conspiracy theories, let's talk funny, let's talk this, let's talk everything. And, in our downtime.
Right.
Just be boom, 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 let's go.
I'm stealing that answer now, so thanks. If you could bring one person back from your family to hunt with, who would it be?
Oh, my grandpa.
Your grandpa? Why is that?
He was my hero. He just the coolest guy I know. The coolest guy I've ever known. He was a jet engine mechanic on P-51 Mustangs. Got a picture of him right over here, which kind of led me down my path to be a jet engine mechanic for the Marine Corps. The guy was hilarious. Typical like old guy get away with stuff. Stealing biscuits in his pocket so his wife doesn't see, so he can have it when he gets home. When it's blatantly obvious, just the things that he would do and say is just,
Yeah.
That's it. I'd be like, all right, Grandpa, let's go.
What is one animal you want to eat? I should probably rephrase that question.
Yeah, that's
What is one? Well, I didn't realize the wording on that until just now when I spoke it out loud.
Yeah.
Do you know where I'm going with that? Do you want?
There's the obvious answer, but I'm not going to say it.
What's that?
Never mind. Yeah. Anyone who's quick and witty will just say beaver right out of the gate.
Beaver? Oh, you dirty dog, you.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, now I got you.
Now you're up to speed. See, Smokey would have been right there.
I've had 6 beers. So, okay.
Turn it up even more, man. That should be even better.
Apparently. All right. What is one animal that you want to try real, like venison type meat?
There you go. I don't know.
Wild game animal. Wild game meat.
Because I've had elk, I've had bison, I've had, obviously whitetail, I've had hog, I've had a bunch of those.
I know somebody that wants to try rhino.
Ooh, that's weird.
That's what I said.
I just think about Ace Ventura climbing out of the butthole of that thing.
That's what I thought of when he said it.
Yeah.
Or a giraffe.
That'd be weird too.
No. Toys R Us.
Yeah. I don't know. You know what? Probably an impala.
Oh, yeah.
Those things are wicked.
They are.
Huge, just spiraled antlers that are just beautiful. Let's do that. That's the final answer.
I like it. All right. Last and final question. What is one thing that you can think of that we as a hunting community could or should do to improve the hunting community as a whole?
That we could or should do. A lot of it, and I'll tell you, this is my personal thing. Stop trying to make it sexy. You know what I mean?
Stop trying to make it sexy?
Yeah. You got these girls trying to, do their thing and you do your thing. I got it. Whatever you want to do to get your likes and follows to help your, self-esteem, but no one's hunting in a bikini top. No, you know what I mean? We're not, and don't if you're going to fake it till you make it, you're not going to make it in this community, because there's a lot of hard MFers running around these woods. It's nothing that we do is sexy. You'd have seen me dragging that 170-pound deer out and falling multiple times, trying to drag it onto my boat. There was nothing sexy about it.
No, I agree with you too. And like I'm sorry, man, or woman, I'm sorry for mispronouncing your name. Quit slamming each other and how we like to hunt.
He's making jokes. I know exactly who it is. He's making jokes.
No, you're right.
He hunts in a bikini bottom.
Oh, he hunts in bikini bottom?
Yeah. He's about to text me any second now.
No, you're right. I'm tired of I block them now on my social media where it's girls in bikinis with camo and they got their bow and stuff like that. It's like that side of it annoys me.
Well, I think it's putting out the wrong message.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're doing it for a very specific reason.
Right.
It's not to be an ethical, clean hunter.
Correct.
You know what I mean? That's my goal. I want to look at this trophy on my wall and know that I have a story with that.
I agree with you on that. Yeah.
Stop trying to make it sexy. It is what it is. We're doing something that we absolutely love and we pour our heart and soul into, and we can't let anyone take it away from us.
Hopefully one day it doesn't happen. But
it won't in our lifetime. It won't in our lifetime.
Nope. Well, Bryan, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been great. I've had a lot of fun with it. I hope you had a lot of fun with it. I hope everyone watching's had a lot of fun watching us talk here tonight. I know people out there don't like listening to me talk, so thank you, Bryan, for taking up the slack. So I appreciate that as I push my paper together. For anyone out there, Bryan, that wants to follow your journey, how can they do so?
Mainly on Instagram, Bobcats _and Broadheads. Everything that I do on Facebook is basically a regurgitation of that. I do a lot of YouTube videos for Extreme Outfitters. Those are my guys, this local shop here. They take care of me. They take care of everybody I send to them. So I can't speak highly enough of them. Best bow techs on the East Coast. If I can't figure it out, I definitely know the guy to take it to. So, and they review and they do. I mean, they put all of the gear that they sell, they put it through the paces to make sure that they've got the best stuff possible. Having
a good bow guy in your back pocket is always a great thing.
Oh yeah, we've got a bow doctor, and he's very meticulous, and he just is. It can drive you a little crazy sometimes, but he's superb at what he does.
Attention to detail.
Very, very. Like, hey, this is loose. Why didn't you see this? I'm like, oh crap, man, I didn't even look there. You know, very just minute things, and he'll find it.
Yeah, like I said, it's always great to have them in your back pocket or know someone, and you end up making good friends with them. You go there so often. Yep.
I love guys down at Extreme Outfitters. I'm telling you what, they've done me right more ways than you can even imagine. And everyone I send their way, I'm like, you guys, you're not going to be disappointed.
Well, again, Bryan, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. Great talking with you, man. Definitely have to stay in touch, and I hope you have a good rest of your night, man.
Thanks, bud. You too. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. Have a good rest of your night.
You too.
Oh, man, what an amazing guy. No, I love talking with him. I love talking with him in our meet and greet. It seemed like our meet and greet could have just kept going on for hours and hours, but it's like, all right, let's save some of the good stuff for later, for the real show. No, but leave it at that. It was an amazing show. Thank you again, Bryan, for coming on for tonight. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for tonight's show. Again, I can't say thank you enough. And with that being said, we're just going to close out tonight. It's been an amazing show. I'm not going to jabble on for hours. So we'll see everyone next week when we cover Pennsylvania. Make sure to put your quarter in the slot machine.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Whitetail Advantage Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we will see you next time.